So here with Frankie Francis from the Heartstrings. Morning, Frankie. How are you?
Fine, thanks. Alright, I just had a busy morning getting my hair cut, but you know,
Looks very smart.
you gotta keep on top of these things.
Absolutely. Weather's horrible as well, isn't it?
Well, it's not great for hair similar to ourselves because it does have a kind of adverse effect. It squashes your hair.
Lose volume,
Yeah.
nothing good.
You know, we spend all our time trying to get the volume and then the rain just desecrates it.
I hate the wind. Anyways, Frankie and the Heartstrings play an exclusive show for Christmas for Wayside Women in Need. How did you find the night?
It was great. You know, it's our first show for a while. We've been a bit lazy, to be honest. We've been lazy with the band. We've been busy with other things. I think it's fair to say, and we thought it would be good to, you know, put a line in the sand almost with 10 years of the band. It kind of tied in with that, and it all started at Independent, the venue in Sunderland, 10 years ago, which was then across the road, it's since been knocked down. But we thought it would be nice to commemorate with the 10-year anniversary gig, and then we passed some buckets around on the night for Wayside Women in Need as well. And it was great, everyone came down. It was nice to see some old faces, some new faces as well. And we got a bit of a bug back for it, so we started, you know, plans to write a new record as well, which is good. But it's, yeah, I mean, it was nice to get everyone back together.
You mentioned like new music. Was there any plans to like tour again or make records?
Yeah, I think, you know, we never ended Frankie and the Heartstrings. We just got busy with other things, you know, and it is a dream job, really. You know, in the position we're in, we've got a great label in Wichita Recordings who, you know, are often asking us when you're going to give us some new music, you know, which is an amazingly privileged position to be in, and something, you know, I think we should take them up on, because, you know, the fun we've had with the band over the years has been great, and you know, the game's changed so much, even in the space of time we've been signed in the last 10 years or whatever. Whereas, you know, in our first couple of years we'd barely be at home. Now, you know, you could successfully make an album, tour it for a couple of weeks in the UK, a week in Europe, and then a festival season, and that would be a good campaign. So that's not unattainable.
It's nice that it ties in. You've got like a understanding record label. I bet the ideas are brimming for the new album.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first few steps are always the most tentative, because everyone's got, you know, there's five writers in the band. We always write as a 5-piece, and we've always gone in trying to respect other people's ideas. Ultimately, some people's ideas will fall by the wayside, because some of the more prominent ideas will have to take a precedent, and that becomes a kind of a narrative for the record in terms of sonic tones and stuff like that. But it's certainly the most exciting thing, you know, and we find ourselves like throwing music recommendations with each other, you know, like things we might be listening to or things we might be feeling inspired by, you know, different kinds of art forms or whatever. So this kind of conception of a record is always a fun time.
So the exciting upcoming Roxy Girls also headlined Independent as well. Do you see them going far?
Yeah, I mean, they're very early on in their musical careers. I think they're very they're the only people doing that kind of thing at the minute. You know, I guess you could compare them to like Futureheads, and there's a band called Les Coq Sportifs and a band called Yummy Fur. They're all cult bands initially who had this kind of stop-start, exciting, quick, flashy songs, and that's what Roxy Girls have, you know. And they're a very exciting band, and I think, you know, they are in their infancy, but I think they definitely want to keep an eye on. And I love the fact they're doing something completely against the grain musically, and I think that's what will stand out.
So you currently got your own weekday show on Amazing Radio. How did that come about?
I've always had a strong love for radio. I studied radio at university level and got a degree in it before the band took off, and still have, you know, I do have very strong passions about as a media platform. I think it's incredibly powerful, and I think it's incredibly useful still for both for all kinds of artists, really. Obviously, this hasn't got the visual side, but you know, for people who are into music and who like new music, old music, whatever, I think it's a great platform, and the fact that I get to work in it now, championing new bands, is another privileged position I find myself in, you know, because when we were constantly touring, we'd always get local support on, and we'd try and take someone from Sunderland with us, like a breaking band with us on tour, and I think it was always important for us to try and use our platform as a band to showcase other people's talent, and the next band to come through. I think that's a really important thing. I think more bands should be wary of that, and almost have a duty and a civic duty to do that if they're from a certain area.
Some of the best talent's coming from the region at the moment. Why do you think it's getting uncovered?
Well, I think there's more of a level playing field now. I think with things like Amazing Radio and things like social media, you can get your music out there a lot easier, and I don't know about the Northeast in particular. I think we were blessed with a lot of good venues, and slowly but surely we're getting a little bit more exposure, like events wise. We haven't really got a regular festival, but I think this year we'll see This Is Tomorrow in a field in Newcastle, which is the first time that's happened. A festival in a field in the Northeast. That hasn't happened for a couple of years since the demise of Split Festival in Sunderland, and there's been all sorts up and down. Festivals try and establish themselves. So those things kind of help the region in a kind of break-in sense, because then people will come to the region, and then those kind of events get to showcase our local talent. But I just think it's just a level playing field at the moment. I think if you've got a bit of talent and you've got the balls to go out and do some gigs, there's opportunities there now which maybe weren't around even when we started first playing. There's promoters out there who are keen to put local talent on with a touring band, which was never always a given case.
Pop Rex started coming up to 10 years ago now.
Well, it was an idea which started before our third record came out, so not quite 10 years, but a long time. And it was initially started, as a kind of promotion tool for the third record. We wanted to be somewhere where we could sell our record to the people, and that was the first kind of couple of years when HMV was under threat and stuff like that. So we thought, there was demise of the record shop, and we thought we'd just make a stand almost, and put it in our home city.
Pop Records has now developed, as you say, from a promotional tool to every day it's got classes on, or meetings for different people. Do you think it's important to reach out to various people of the community of backgrounds?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's not enough of that in modern living, especially in the UK. I think you'd find in Europe there'd be a lot more similar places happening. We've played places in Holland and Germany where by day it's like an arts cafe, by night it's a venue, by late night it's a nightclub, and then it's even got residential space, for people to stay and have if you're a resident artist, you literally stay and live there. And I think that's a very forward way of thinking of these places, and I think there's an ultimate vision of Pop Rex being something like that. And I think you've got to involve as many different sectors of the community as you can, and it's just accessibility really, giving places, a demographic an opportunity and an area, or just a space, or a table with some chairs, or a practice room, or a venue to try something, that even if they never do anything there again and they move on because they're successful, it's that initial step. Independent Venue Week was last week, a very important thing to highlight. These are the lifeblood of the live music scene. These little small independent venues. You don't get Ed Sheeran or Snow Patrol or the biggest bands you can think of, Maroon 5. They did. Now imagine they played small venues first. You need these small venues.
Stepping stones.
It's a stepping stone, of course it is. And as long as you accept your existence for that, that people are going to outgrow you. But you can do it in a kind of cool way, and I think Pop Rex does that. And that's why you get big artists coming back and saying, "Oh, we want to come and show our support for something like this because we understand the importance of it." And it could be anything from knitting groups or mental health drop-in centre, anything like that. I think if you put it in a cool, relatable environment with like-minded people, it just makes things a little bit easier for everyone, doesn't it?
What do you think are the biggest issues or problems facing the music industry and culture sector at the moment?
Well, I think there's some obvious issues that could face it, and that's the lack of funding from central government. I don't think I think it's obvious and evident that the current status quo, the Conservative government have slashed funding for the arts
do you think the North's particularly overlooked by the current government?
Sometimes, yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, I think the North's overlooked completely. Never mind in the arts. You know, I think in terms of local transport and every sector, it's completely overlooked. You know, but I think that's where the main problem is. You're not going to get you don't get funding anymore from central government for certain things, and you're seeing cuts year upon year. That's fact. That's happening, and the fact that we're appeared to be coming out of Europe as well, that's going to have a massive knock on as well, because in our area, I think the Sage was probably built with European money, which is a tremendously amazing music venue. So many things that have been helped with European money, which you don't know until it comes to these conversations, and that's not at fault to the people who may have wanted to leave Europe. It's because they didn't know. It's because I don't think people knew how much money actually comes into to places and cities like Sunderland and Newcastle, Gateshead, and Middlesbrough from Europe. So I think that could be an issue going forward, that there's not going to be money for outdoor events, new venues, ambitious projects to get off the ground like Pop Rex. Money's going to be tighter, and if you invest in art, it's proven that because if you invest in art in the city becomes more cultural, and flourishes because of that. There's loads of evidence for that. Unfortunately, that's going to be harder going forward.
Well, maybe that puts the emphasis on places like Pop Records becoming more prominent in communities as Brexit continues to break people apart. Is that something that you see as well?
Yeah. I mean, I like to think that even if you don't share the same views politically, you could find common ground in this place like Pop Rex, and then that's where art's wonderful, because music can unite so many people, and you could be in a band with someone with completely polar opinion views. It might not be great for songwriting or whatever, but you find common ground with things like music and art, and I don't think it helps anything if everyone's at each other's throat about this topic. I think it's an incredible, difficult situation we find ourselves in, and I think Pop Rex as a place shouldn't see itself just aligning with a certain side. Although it's fairly obvious that most people who appreciate Pop Rex and use Pop Rex daily will have like-minded
viewpoints,
ethos, but I wouldn't like that to be predominant. And I think if anyone wants access to the arts, and anyone wants to use somewhere like Pop Rex, they shouldn't be discouraged because of difference in opinions of political views. In fact, you should come together and talk about how you can make this place a positive thing for that, come together and share opposing opinions, but come together to create something.